All right, joining us now to speak more about this issue, we are joined by EFF spokesperson Sinawo Tambo, and he joins us via our phone line. Sinawo, thank you so much for joining us here on the late edition. Of course, coming out from your Central Command committee meeting at the weekend, of course, hearing from the leader of the EFF saying that you will be taking this route of course, tabling this private members bill. Why is it that you've resorted to rather taking this route, even though we have seen the president backtracking on what he had said in terms of South Africa coming out of the ICC?
Look, thank you, Mbali, and greetings to the viewers. The EFF Central Command team debated on various issues, and one of those was the international situation, and most prominent of those being the current conflict between Ukraine and Russia, and of course the impact that forces such as NATO and the United States of America have in trying to dictate foreign policy of South Africa and all of the world. So as part of that discussion, the Central Command team noted and emphasized that there needs to be a firm voice from Africa that is going to speak out against institutions which are biased and seek to impose their perspectives on other nations, and the International Criminal Court is one of those. It is an institution that has failed to persecute warmongers, such as the United States of America, which has wreaked havoc in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Yugoslavia, sponsored coups that led the killing of brother leader Muammar Gaddafi in Libya. So it's an institution that has shown that it is an instrument for U.S. imperialism, an instrument for the NATO war alliance, which is currently invading, well, not invading, but rather undermining the territorial integrity of Russia. So we have taken the decision as an organization to be a firm voice, a voice with a spine, unlike the President of South Africa, and to speak firmly against institutions such as the ICC, which targets nations and leaders who are not aligned to U.S. imperialism, and that is why we've taken that decision.
So now we saw, this position from the ANC. We then also saw it from the president. We first then saw him saying that South Africa will be taking a position of withdrawing. He then later backtracked on that. Do you think that other members of parliament will be willing, to have this matter being heard in parliament, and to ultimately see a position of this stance being taken? Do you have support from other members of parliament?
Look, we will be engaging other political parties on the position the EFF has taken of withdrawing from the ICC, and we'll present to them logical arguments that will not be able to be refuted because they're going to be superior in nature. The International Criminal Court failed to prosecute the United States of America for the war crimes they committed in Iraq and Afghanistan, where they took a deliberate decision to utilize what they called enhanced interrogation methods, which is practically torture. And the CIA has admitted to that, there's reports to that effect, and yet nothing has ever been done by the ICC against George Bush. So we have to be able to, as a nation, understand and recognize that even ironically, the United States of America, which is currently trying to impress upon South Africa to effect the arrest warrant of the ICC, is not a signatory to the Rome Statute. They're not part of the ICC themselves, because they know very well that they have committed war crimes, yet they are able to try and impress on other nations to comply with warrants of arrest of an institution that they are not members of. So we are going to make this logical argument to the Parliament of South Africa that in order to be able to defend the sovereignty of South Africa and its foreign economic policy and foreign political policy and all policies in that regard, we need to disassociate ourselves from instruments of U.S. imperialism. And those who are aligned to U.S. imperialism will reject the argument of the EFF, and of course the ANC will expose itself again as a spineless organization that does not know how to take a position firmly and stand behind it and back it, because they know that they will receive phone calls to betray positions that they have adopted. The ANC clearly spoke and resolved that there must be an exit from the ICC and its National Executive Committee, and then they contradicted each other. They contradicted themselves rather later on, because they received phone calls from those investors that they want to dictate our policies in terms of what happens here in South Africa. So we're going to show that the ANC does not control its own policy perspectives, and therefore it translates that in how it governs South Africa. So if the ANC has any backbone and has any respect for the relationship that South Africa has had with Russia, has any respect for itself and its ability to dictate policy, they'll support this bill because it is in the interest of us realigning and shifting world power away from U.S. imperialism.
So now, when will this exactly be tabled to Parliament? And if maybe you can take our viewers through what exactly it will entail?
Look, it will be tabled immediately. The work is being done by the research team of the EFF to compile the bill, and then, of course, it will then be gazetted once it is delivered to the legal department of Parliament, and it will be presented in Parliament as well. So it will go through that process where it will have to be taken to the legal department of Parliament and ratified there at that level, and then finally introduced as a bill upon which members will debate and make substantive arguments either for or against. And from that point in time, then there will be a vote where we will see who actually understands the hypocrisy of the ICC, and we will see who understands the importance of disassociating ourselves with an instrument of that nature that has shown inconsistency, that has shown bias, and shown that it can be used to fight political battles for those who want to control global affairs in society. So we're going to keep the people of South Africa abreast and up to date every stage of
all right.
Because South Africa needs a political party that is able to take a firm stance on international affairs, and the EFF is the only one that is able to do that at this stage.
All right, then. Thank you very much, Sinawo. That is Sinawo Tambo, the EFF's spokesperson, just giving us a bit of insight in terms of the plans that they have when it comes to their standing on the International Criminal Court.